Hello, everyone, and welcome to Secondary Tech Tuesday. Today, we are going to be exploring how to support our inquiries with digital tools. So give me a minute. I'm going to flip screens and start our presentation. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tech Tuesday. Today, in the month of April, we're going to start looking at supporting inquiry with digital tools. Specifically, this Tuesday, we are going to focus on formulating questions and gathering information. If you would like to collaborate with us, you can go into the document link and write your questions there, and you'll find that in the same place that you were able to link into our YouTube channel. And if you want to collaborate with us on Twitter or Yammer, be sure to use the hashtag DPChats and we'll be able to find your question. As well, our Tech Tuesdays are housed in our YouTube channel, which is DPCDSB Chats. As we begin to look at the inquiry cycle this month, we're going to specifically today look on two parts of it. So we're looking at formulating our questions and understanding the problem and gathering and organizing information based on the problem that we are examining. I want you to specifically remember, as we are looking at the idea of inquiry, is that it is a gradual release of responsibility. So if you look over to the left, there is, you can see the role of the teacher, degree of control, as well as the role of the students. What you do see in the beginning, as you begin the inquiry process and we go through the different parts of it, is that the teacher plays a large part in modeling the different parts of inquiry. So we wouldn't just throw the students into applying it solely themselves, right? So in the beginning, some of these things that you're seeing, you're really modeling and showing them how to do it in order for them to understand what the inquiry process looks like. You begin to model and then share and guide them, and eventually they're able to apply the skills on their own. So you really see that the teacher demonstrates and helps guide them within it, and then eventually through all of the modeling, they're able to understand the process and begin to formulate questions because they've seen it and done it and shared the experience with groups already. So remember that it is a process, and it is something that you need to teach, and it's not something that's just understood. So the students need to understand where the process comes from and what it looks like. As we think of our students and working towards our Catholic graduate expectations, when we're looking at this part of the inquiry today, I want you to think of our students as collaborative contributors. They're working together to formulate and gather and understand the overall picture, the overall big idea, as well as really thinking about the resources that they're using and reflecting on whether they're good resources, evaluating our websites and the sources that we come to. Another thing is really understanding how to take all the resources that we're using and build them together. So as we're looking through the different ideas and elements of inquiry process, I want you to think of how the students are collaborating and how they're really reflecting on what they're doing. When we begin to formulate questions, one of the key things is really taking a look at your curriculum. So explore the events, the developments, or issues related to your overall expectations and determine the key concepts that are relevant to your inquiry. As you can see here, I've pulled out the idea of our world studies, and we can see that inquiry in the process itself is blatantly in there. When we look at science, in the cycle within there, we see that we also have the idea of the initiating and planning, thinking and brainstorming, identifying problems, formulating questions. You can see it within that cycle itself. And even when we go into the idea of the arts, you're seeing that we want them to really generate possible solutions and be creative. We want them to plan and focus. So this part of formulating questions and gathering and organizing information, this is all a part of every part of the curriculum. Anytime that I opened up a part of the secondary curriculum, right away I was able to find and narrow in on the parts of inquiry and how I could pull out the different parts of the process. specifically today looking at the questioning and the organizing of information. So be sure when you look at your expectations to look for entry points as well as topics that will engage students' interests and involve a problem or issue that they can really work with. Don't have something that's too complicated, but not something overly simplified, something that is going to interest them and they're going to really want to engage and start to look for the answers and solutions behind it. When we're formulating questions, we examined in prior months the idea of using the interactive whiteboard of Padlet. And here you can see when I've designed it, I've basically left it as an open forum so that I'm able to arrange the different posts that come on. So here in the world studies, I was specifically looking at the interactions in the physical environment and how human activity can influence our natural characteristics of Canada. So I divided, you can see my Padlet into three parts, and I wanted to know what they can see when they think about this question, what they think, and what they wonder. So I'm beginning to have them think about the big picture and the question that we're examining and ask their own questions based on it. So you want them to be able to have some prior knowledge. So when they're thinking about the natural environment of Canada, that's something that they're involved with, right? They understand and they have a conception of what that may be. So you want to know what they can see and what they're thinking about it and really what they wonder. And from these wonderings, it is going to lead us further into our inquiry. Another tool that we examined in prior months is the idea of Mindomo, and that's building our mind mapping. So here you can see, and I have one that's on a smart board and they're building it right in class together. So they can use their images and words and many people can be on and collaborate at once, or the teacher can be leading it if they're modeling it. So it all depends on at what point of the inquiry process you're in. But you're really going to want to brainstorm not only the ideas behind the question, but you want to brainstorm maybe possible sources that you can go and find information. And maybe you might be thinking of the people, situation, places, events that may be involved with this. So you're really leading them to different places. And they might be, if they're ready, leading themselves using one of these tools. And Mindomo is a great tool when they are ready to be able to build upon it collaboratively from their own devices and work together as a group. So it's something that they're building their knowledge together and they're questioning, and you can continue to go back and then revisit the questions and build upon the questions as the inquiry is being developed. And when we think about the idea of inquiry, when we think of formulating questions, just because that's something that we've started with and we move on to gathering and organizing, remember that we are then going back and looking back. It's not something that we do one part and then we're next and then we go to the next one. So you have to remember when we do our inquiry, we're coming in and out of different parts, right? We're formulating questions, we're gathering and organizing. Maybe we're going to interpret a little bit and then we might go back to looking at our questions again and heading out to evaluating some of them, but then going back to our questioning again. So we're in and out of this process. It's not something that's ever really complete, right? Until we found our solution and figured out what our end means is. So for the idea of the Padlet here in the Mindomo, I want you to remember that we've already touched upon how to use these tools and how to develop with them. So you can go back into our DP chats and find out how to do that, but I'm just giving you the idea of these are tools that we can use in our inquiry, and they're great tools for collaboration and great tools also for the teacher to lead into the modeling and demonstrate how we do it. Another important thing is understanding that we need to develop criteria that will be useful when evaluating the evidence and information that's coming in. So we're formulating the questions, maybe we're using some research, but how do we actually test whether or not that it's good sources that we're pulling from or good information? So how do we know when the information is the right research, right? when thinking of, and I'm just going to go back here one second, what you saw here was that idea that we're working on, let's see if I can get this to be quiet, but evaluating our websites and what we're doing. So please remember that it's important that when you look at these, the currency, the relevance, the accuracy, really all of those different parts that you're showing and helping the students understand those parts of it as well. And this leads us into to the idea of gathering and organizing. So you want them to be able to understand to collect relevant evidence from a variety of primary and secondary resources. So whether they be from print or electronic, it's remember that they're pulling from different places. Determine if sources are credible, reliable, and accurate, and we'll go into kind of what that looks like as well, and record the sources of the evidence and information they're using, so that they're using a working bibliography, right? They're understanding that everything there needs to be accredited, and it's copyrighted, and being able to cite where their sources are coming from. This leads us really into that idea of being a good digital citizen and being able to think critically and use our understanding of the digital literacy that's coming in. We want to teach them to use effective strategies to search for information, to use credible online resources and how they know what they are, to evaluate and reflect on the information and sources that they're using, and be able to apply the inquiry model to gather, use, and evaluate this information. So the idea of inquiry really is embedded within it, and really ties into, if we think about it, when we think about the process, do we think about how the students are thinking about the resources coming in, how they're using the research that's coming in? It's really important that we spend time having that discussion and helping our students understand the importance of that part of gathering and organizing information. A lot of search engines out there, there's tons of them. A lot of them that they're probably already using are the Google, the Yahoo, the Ask, Bing. So these are common ones that are used, but they don't always bring up the searches that they're looking for. So each search engine's index of sites is unique. There can be significant variation in the results that different engines generate. So they have a host of information. They're putting in their links. And so they're not always the same. So depending on where you go, Google or Yahoo, you're going to probably get different information that come up. One search engine that's really great for secondary is called Sweet Search, and it's a search engine for students. So this engine searches only 35,000 websites. It's not only, that's quite a bit, but compared to what's out there, it really narrows it in. It has been evaluated and improved by a staff of internet research experts and librarians and teacher consultants. And it lets researchers choose the most relevant results from a list of credible results. So really at the same time, the students are coming in and they're knowing that when they're searching in the Sweet Search, they're able to really come up with some credible resources. Now, what we have to understand and what students have to understand is, how do these engines work? So we enter in a keyword, and it needs to be a significant term or phrase related to the website that the students or the teacher hope to find. The search is not searching the entirety of the web. Please remember that. You don't put in something, only the list of websites that the search engine has indexed. So someone behind Google or Yahoo or Bing has been indexing and putting in certain websites that relate to those key terms. So search engines don't know why you want information. They simply find information according to the words you've entered. These results are not recommendations. So search engines don't rank your results by the content of each site. They use mathematical equations to rank them, and based on your words, they give you what they think is the best websites for you. So here's the thing. We need to be able to use some different ways in order to search. So one way is by using our punctuation symbols as well as search operators. So here you can see that there's some specific things. If you look these up on Google or whatnot, they'll be able to come up with it. But it's saying, if when you use a dash before a word or site, it excludes sites with that info from your results. So that dash is that idea of the minus, right? Minus out this. So I want a Jaguar speed minus the car. So I know they're going to come up with the animal and the speed and not about the car. And when you put a phrase in quotation, the results will only include pages with the same words in the same order as the ones you put inside the quotes. So all of this is important for the students to understand. How do we search efficiently? How do we use these little key terms in order to figure out um, the most efficient way to search for what we're looking for? And another idea is that idea of search operators. So when you put the idea of site in colon, you get results from certain sites or domains. And if you're really interested in taking a look at the list and what's here, make sure that if you're watching the video, you can pause it. Even in live feed right now, you can pause it and play it again, and we'll continue on. So if you want to take a look, please do. Remember that you can also search the punctuation symbols for keyword searches, as well as search operators, and have the students do that. They're not going to learn it the first time you show it to them, but you're going to demonstrate it and model it when you're modeling the searching, and then they're eventually going to pick up on different things they can do as well. Another one is Boolean operators. So after we're learning, the main idea here is how do we use the right search engines? So maybe a suite search for the students. How do we use keywords and operators in order to narrow down our search? And really, how do we know if a site is credible, and what do we do? So some of the main questions students may be looking at is, who is the author? What are their credentials? Who is making the information available? How is the site funded? When was the information first published, and has it been updated recently, or is it something from the 90s, or that was just kind of placed in there and hasn't been updated since? Really important information, because things change. There are sites out there that can help with some of the idea of being credible, besides just going to find the information of the site. One site is called Alexia, and this allows you to search a web address to find the other sites that link to it, so you can see if other credible people think it's worthwhile. It also tells you how many people access the site on a daily basis and related links. So it'll give you the traffic of who's there, what parts of the world, and who's coming in. It'll tell you what other websites are linked to this or promoting this website. So it could be valid ones within there. So to find historical site information, there's another one. So you want to find the background. How long has it been there? An Internet Archive is dedicated to building a permanent internet library. So the site keeps comprehensive records of the internet since 1996, views sites, watch videos, listens to audio files, and read books that are no longer online. So you can go back to something called the Wayback Machine if you want to go and you're working on history and looking at what's there, although the history isn't that far behind. So you're probably not going to want to go and use that. But an Internet Archive really lets you see how long these records have been there. So if you can't find the site or know when it's begun or where it started, there are some ways to go around and do that. So remember, when you're teaching students to use information, you have to help them understand, how do they see whether or not it's a credible source, and what are they looking for? And there are engines out there that can help them find out whether or not it's credible. So as they move into working towards, a more senior level, this becomes more imperative as they go into post-secondary education. And as I stated a little bit ago, that almost all of the information you find on the internet is copyrighted. So always assume that something is copyrighted as a general rule. Teach the students that they need to cite everything that they are basically bringing in for their research and to have a working bibliography, as I stated before. One thing you can use is a website called Citation Machine. And this automatically generates citations in MLA, APA. It all depends on what you're doing. These are two main ones that, so basically it leads them through it. So you choose your citation format, then the type of publication, whether it be the web or a book, magazine, newspaper, whatever they're using. The site provides a form where you can enter the citation information. It then generates a properly formatted citation for you to copy and paste into your document. So it's pretty easy for the students, right? They're able to see if they're not quite sure. I know sometimes students have a difficulty with bibliography and figuring out how exactly they're supposed to write it out. So this is one place you can send them to that may help them, encourage them to cite what they are doing. All right, let's just make my way back to here. So hopefully you were able to pick up on a few tools that you can use in order to formulate questions with the students, and some specific strategies you can do when they are researching and making sure that they're evaluating the resources that are coming in. As the month goes on with Tech Tuesdays, we are going to be exploring the different aspects of the inquiry process and different tools that we can use to enhance that process itself. So thank you for joining us today. And if you get a chance, please fill out the exit ticket link that's on the document link that provided the YouTube, as well as the conversation piece. So thank you for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you next Tech Tuesday.